evening, everyone. My name is Linda Duke. I'm director of the Marianna Kistler Beach Museum of Art here at K-State. Welcome to all of you here in the room, and also to audiences who are joining us from Neosho County Community College and Fort Scott County Community College. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're so proud to offer the talk this evening by artist Damon Davis. And our curator, Eileen June Wang, is going to give you a little introduction before we hear from Mr. Davis. Thanks so much.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Eileen Wang, and I am the Associate Curator at the Beach Museum of Art. And I had the privilege of working with Damon on acquiring some of his works for the museum collection. So you can actually see one of his pieces in the Beach Museum. So please come visit us and see his work. I'm really excited to welcome Damon here to K-State, and welcome to everyone for coming. So Damon is a multidisciplinary artist who works and lives in St. Louis. He got his BA from St. Louis University in Communication Technology, but he also learned many things on his own to execute the projects he wanted to do, which spans a whole range of mediums. He's got photography, that's where All Hands on Deck came from, but he also does painting and illustration. Recent work included a collage, and I think Damon will talk to you about that, negrophilia. Another thing he did is an installation in St. Louis, which really was amazing. It's called the Wailing Wall, and it's on Del Mar Boulevard in St. Louis. And the Wailing Wall is a 4x7 wooden wall, 4x7 feet wooden wall, built on the Del Mar Boulevard in St. Louis. And that boulevard kind of became like a dividing line between rich and poor neighborhoods in St. Louis. And David really wanted to do something that would trigger those two communities to come together and to start telling each other their stories. And so he built this wall and left space for people on both sides of Del Mar Boulevard to leave letters to each other on the wall. So it's a place for the community to tell their perspectives of the economic disparities experienced in that city. And Damon called that spot, Del Mar Boulevard, the Del Mar Divide. And it's inspired by the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, where people would also leave notes to God there. What's impressive for me is that that's, painting, illustration, installation, photography are all just a part of what Damon does. He also is a musician, and he's a founder and co-producer of hip-hop music group Scripts and Screws and Blank Generation. He is working on an opera based on the life and music of Sun Ra, who is an African-American jazz composer and musician. And recently, a part of that opera, so it's still in progress, but a part of it was performed by Alarm Will Sound, a contemporary music group, artist collective, who are known for performing demanding and out-of-the-box music. He also founded Far-Fetched Collective, which is part record label and a musicians collective, aiming to bring together musicians with different backgrounds who want to push the envelope in some way, either in terms of content, so using that platform to express ideas about social political issues, or in terms of presentation, in terms of music. So those are just some of the things that Damon does. Now in late 2014, Damon started All Hands on Deck. It was a project that started when Michael Brown was shot to death by a policeman in Ferguson, Missouri, on August 9th, 2014. And it was one of a string of recent killings by police of Black men. Trayvon Martin was shot to death by a neighborhood watch volunteer in Florida just 2 years before. Eric Garner was killed by police officers in Staten Island just a month before Michael Brown. Tamir Rice was killed in Cleveland in November of that same year. And Walter Scott was shot to death in North Charleston on April 4th, 2015. Freddie Gray was killed in Baltimore 8 days later. So Damon was very angered by all these injustices, and especially what he saw in St. Louis, his native city. And he actively participated in the protests that followed Michael Brown's shooting. And at that point, he had said in an interview that his art and activism started to blend together, and he wanted to interpret and reflect what he was witnessing. So Damon will tell you the details of All Hands on Deck among his other projects, but just want to share that for me, the images in All Hands on Deck and knowing Damon's story made me ask the question of why many African Americans end up in a violent situation when they encounter police, who are supposed to be the protectors of the community. And why does the sight of an African American man trigger a police officer with weapons and the skills to harm to feel so threatened that he or she strikes out to kill? What is it about the sight of an African American that brings up certain feelings that lead to violence? So my experience with All Hands on Deck and Damon's other works made me look deeper at myself, and also the issues that made me feel uncomfortable. But they're important to confront, and he's inspired me to do that. And that is the power of art, and that is the power of an artist, what an artist can inspire us to do. So Damon will talk to us not only about All Hands on Deck, but his recent projects, including Who Streets, a documentary that he just completed with co-director Saba Folayan. And we're so proud to say that this film was nominated to compete in the Sundance Film Festival this year, just in January. It's been picked up by a distributor. Mm-hmm. And Damon was named, well, how many of you guys know about TED Talks? Yep. Well, Damon is a 2017 TED Fellow. Yay. He's going to give a talk this year. We don't know when yet, do we?
April.
In April.
Oh, yeah, this month.
This month?
End of this month, yeah.
Great, so something to look forward to, but you guys get a preview. You're gonna hear Damon talk now. So let's all give a warm welcome to Damon.
I got one. All right, thank you, Eileen. Eileen did not give you the abridged version of my bio. That was pretty much my entire life, and I appreciate that. So, let's cut to the chase for a second. I want to show you guys a clip from Who Streets, the documentary that I co-directed with my friend and colleague Saba Folayan about what happened to us in St. Louis and Ferguson in 2014. So I'm gonna just show you this and we'll talk more.
I'm gonna tell the police this. You can take all the pictures you want. You can record all the conversations you want. You can document all the tweets you want. You can Photoshop whatever you do. What you gotta do, cause we gonna do what we gotta do.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom!
How everybody doing out there? That's all y'all got? How's everybody doing out there? Good. It's much better. So, that was a partial clip. It's a clip of a clip from a film that I co-directed and produced with my friend Sabah Folion called Who Streets. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival this year. And it is the story of the Ferguson Rebellion told from people that lived it, people that lived there. I'm born and raised in East St. Louis, Illinois. I lived in St. Louis my entire life, the St. Louis area. So when everything happened in Ferguson, honestly, I didn't go out the very first day. To be real with you, it's not a new thing for police to shoot black people. I know a lot of people just not getting hip to it, but it's not a new thing. And I can honestly say I'm ashamed of that fact. And when I did get out there, it was out of guilt because I couldn't just sit by and watch things unfold right in my home and not do anything about it. So I think it was about the third day that I went out. And I didn't go back in after that, once I got out there. So, as Eileen told you, I make things. I make a lot of shit. Movies, music, pictures, paintings. And so when I got out there, the best thing that I could do, that I thought I could do personally, was to create images for people. So I chanted, I protest, but after a while I got pulled into a meeting. A friend of mine told me to go to a meeting, and I didn't know that this meeting was full of organizers, young and old, and everybody in between. So I kind of found an identity there by making visual collateral around what was going on. And I ended up making a lot of things that gave a visual identity to what was going on. I did the posters and I did the flyers, and it was only because I was the only one in the room that could draw. I was the one that could do it. And so I found my space doing that. Ferguson October was a weekend event that we did. That was a clip from that weekend. In that same room with all those organizers, I was made the point person for the rally. So I organized that. I got the stage. That's because I've been doing music and I run a record label. So I knew how to get resources in that reality. So in that world. So in the world of entertainment and things like that, because those are the skills that I've been honing my entire life. So that was Ferguson. This is an image from All Hands on Deck, which is hanging up. That actual print is in the Beach Museum right now. There were 7 of these things that I did. There were different individual images of people that had become part of this protest community that we had built. And each person had facilitated a different role. This is Lucas. He's a kid, his dad, his name is Torrey Russell. He's also featured in the film that we did, but he became a prominent voice and an organizer kind of on the spot like most of us did. Other people were like reverends. I took pictures of their hand. I took a picture of, and not just black, not just men, not just straight people, everybody who came out and got busy, who put their bodies on the line. I tried to capture the community of people that was standing up for Mike Brown. So people that ran safe spaces, people that were live streamers. The reason why most of the people who weren't there knew that it was even going on. It was a life-changing experience on multiple levels. So when I was originally asked to come here and speak, it was because I started some other shit at the Art Museum in St. Louis behind an exhibit that this guy, another artist named Kelly Walker did. So I don't know if anybody else if anybody's familiar with Kelly Walker's work, but the reason that I was originally asked is because Miss Linda Duke, boom, got an email from her. She said that people in the staff had read this letter that I wrote in Hyperallergenic, which is an art platform, an online platform. And it was calling for mass accountability and responsibility by institutions and artists when it comes to imagery that you use. And the idea that artistic license is just that, it's a license. So if I'm drunk and I'm driving and I hit a kid, I lose my license. Yet people can hide behind artistic license and hurt whoever they want. And the idea was that Mr. Walker was taking images of civil rights, iconic civil rights photos, and he was calling this pop culture. And because it was pop culture, he could take these images and he could do anything with them, like what Andy Warhol did during the 60s. I had a bit of a problem with that personally, but that's neither here nor there, because people have the right, or I believe artists have the right to use imagery and to provoke conversations if you can explain your intent, if there's any intent around it. But when Mr. Walker was asked in several different ways by several different people in the audience, mainly other black artists and patrons, he was very disrespectful to those people, and he could not answer why he used those images. So the best that he could do was to tell me and others that they are just images and we should not be angry about these images. And let me give you a little context. So these images are pictures of iconic civil rights moments. One specific that probably everyone in here has seen. It's a police officer holding a man by his collar while he lets a dog attack him. So he took that picture, he blew that up 4 times. All he did was change the rotation, like he just turned it 90 degrees, and then he just threw milk chocolate on top of those pictures. And he would sell those pictures for $250,000, $300,000. And he's been doing, this is a retrospective, so that means you've been doing this shit at least 20 years. It's the end of your career. And you've never been able to, or you've never been asked by any black people why you choose to use these images, what these images actually mean. And when he couldn't answer those questions, the curator got in the middle of it, so I had a little altercation with him. He decided to tell me that artists are supposed to ask questions and not answer them. Though I still don't know what the question was that he was actually asking. And on top of those images, he blew up big pictures of King magazine. Anybody know what King magazine is in here? Anybody seen it? Word. So he took the covers of those, like Trina, Khalees, and he threw toothpaste all over it. And I mean, if you see the images, you understand, like, the imagery alludes to something that we all adults here. You can understand when you look at it what it alludes to. So he was using these images of black women and black people in pain as props. At least that's what I got out of it. And there's no way that I didn't know that that's what he was doing, because he couldn't explain to me what he was doing. So my main thing was that I'm a competent human being, and I hate the idea that artists are these lackadaisical children that just run around and draw and shit, and we don't understand anything, and we just are very, we're just pulling things out of the air and all of this inspiration. See, being black, I have to understand what I am doing at all times, and I have to be able to explain myself at all times, randomly. If I get pulled over, if I'm walking on your campus and don't nobody recognize me, the security will ask me what I am doing. But this man has been able to walk through life and never be accountable to anyone or anything. So I called for a boycott of the institution and of the work, and I asked for the work to come down. It made a few waves. It got out here to Kansas. I got a little hate mail, got a little bit. I got a lot more love than I expected. I got a lot more love. I got a lot more people from all over the world telling me thank you. We've been waiting for someone to say this. This is not the only guy. Check this guy out. And this person over here, and this person over here. And it ended up with the curator leaving or resigning, and with the institution, instead of taking the things off of the wall, they built extra walls. They built more walls so that you wouldn't have to look at it if you didn't want to. So that was not, and let me be clear about that, that was not just me. I was the one that asked for the boycott. There were also black people, very close friends of mine that worked at that institution. They told them that that was not the best idea to do, months, even years in advance. This is right after arguably the biggest civil rights movement event in 50 years happened in this same city. Nobody said, maybe this isn't the best idea to do this right now. Maybe we should ask the community what they think. You know, none of that. There's no accountability to a certain demographic of people. And I happen to be a part of it. And that was the main idea of it. I got different people telling me that I was advocating for censorship, things of that nature. So that kind of brings me to another thing that just happened. Did anybody see what happened at the Whitney a couple of weeks ago with this white lady? She decided to paint a picture of Emmett Till in his casket. And an artist by the name of Hannah Black, who is not a black American, who is a black woman from England, asked for a boycott as well, and not only for the art to be removed, but to be destroyed. So she took it a step further than I did. Now, I do not agree, honestly, with destroying art for multiple reasons. But I do agree with boycotting institutions. I do agree with holding curators responsible. I do agree with holding artists responsible, because I will be held responsible. I will be held responsible for every word that I say to you. One day someone will want to bring it up to me. And I am a huge advocate of people, everyone, holding institutions responsible. And people are cogs inside of institutions. See, like, when these things happen, there's no one to blame. It's it's just the institution, and then things go away. They evaporate. People quiet down. I believe that we would be fools to think that these things are not connected, that one institution is not connected to the other. The same way when black people take the streets asking for justice for a kid that was shot unarmed, that everybody expects it to go away, that no one ever pays for it. No one even goes to trial for it. See, these things are not apart from each other. These things are not uncommon. This is systematic. This is the way this country is built. It's built on the backs of black people. And as if that's the bottom step of the basement, there's somebody up right after that. Somebody else got stepped on, and then somebody else got stepped on. But at the end of the day, the people that get the benefit are white men. Those are the people that it was written, that the Constitution and the Declaration were written for, and everything else is a system to keep those people in power, specifically built for that. Like, it may make you uncomfortable. I hope it does, because every single day of my life that I can remember, I've been uncomfortable. So I hope you are super uncomfortable with it, because that's the only way that it's going to change. And I talked to a student earlier today, and it was refreshing, because she told me that I sounded, what did she say? She said I sounded defeated. Because I wholeheartedly don't actually have that much faith in the overarching idea of whiteness and that idea of whatever that is, because that equals power. That's what whiteness really means. There are people that are white, right? But whiteness means power. And I don't believe that power is going to give it up to anyone. And I don't think by asking for it or marching for it or any of that it will willingly give up the power. And it will use anything it has, including violence, including media, including whatever it needs to keep that power. So what I have been doing throughout as of late, because when all this started, the things I was making was very, very much like, look at us as human beings. You know, the same thing that everybody does every 20 fucking years. There's somebody that wants to do the same thing and think that at some point we'll get through and we'll break through to people, and they may see us as people. And I'm not talking individuals. You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up with both people, and I got friends that I consider family that are white. I'm not talking individual. I'm talking about overarching the idea, the institution, back to institution. The institution of whiteness is is a big monolithic thing that a whole lot of people, good or bad, take full advantage of. Take full fucking advantage of. And rarely get outside of their comfort zone to help anybody that is being brutalized or hurt by it. So that's what and by me saying those words, I was defeated. So I like that. I appreciate that. And what I would like to say is I don't really feel defeated. I just feel that I would rather spend time on talking to like-minded people, people with shared experience. And that means black people, to be frank. And what black means is the people without the power. If white means those are the people, or the powerful, then I mean the black people, the powerless, right? And I'd rather be fortifying those people for the spiritual warfare that they have to go through every day, that they wake up. I'd rather be making things to create hope within those people, or making things to examine the effects of what power has done to me throughout my life. And by that examination, I feel that I'll be able to find something, or someone else will be able to find something to help heal them and to help them walk through life every day. So when I say like-minded people, since I have to be very clear, I don't mean only black people. I don't mean only anybody. But what I will not do is I will not go out of my way or waste my time with somebody that will never see me as a human being. And I advise everybody in here to not do that, because it's like you only get a few years on the planet. So I would spend my time loving those that love me. You don't have to hate anyone. I think hate is a waste of time too. It's a draining, exhausting thing. But it's just debilitating to constantly beg for your humanity. Generations of people have done that. Generations of people. And yet, I don't believe in progress. I believe that we go up and down as we go in waves. So those things are, I'm not saying that things are as bad as they were 100 years ago or 100 years before that, but systematically, whiteness and the ideas of power and the ideas of capitalism morph and evolve and they change. And though we are not in physical change today, slavery morphed into Jim Crow, then morphed into the prison industrial complex. And I don't know anybody from where I am from that looks like me that has not been affected by that. I got friends in prison. I got friends that's dead. And this has come from somebody with law enforcement in their family. You know, it's not, I'm not talking about individual people right now. I'm talking about systems and how systems work. But when I do talk about individual people, understand that each individual person plays their part in that system, upholding that system or destroying that system. So my part that I like to play is fucking shit up. And I do it through making stuff. So I don't know exactly what each and every person's gift is and what you do well. But if you are a conscious human being that would like to shift things into a much more balanced and equitable world, I think that you should use whatever gifts and talents the Creator gave you, or whatever you want to call it, gave you, whatever you've been honing throughout your life, whatever you were good at, to shift the balance of that power. And that's going to take the people at the top. We're not all going to move up like this. That's not how it's going to work. And I know that people don't like to give up privileges. And that's me too. That's included men. And like it doesn't just stop with white guys, okay? I want to be very clear about that, okay? So all men sit in a place of privilege over women. That's the way the world's fucking built. And if you deny that, you're crazy, okay? You understand what I'm saying? So like everybody, straight people, gay people, like there were levels. There are levels to this shit. So like everybody sits somewhere in a place of privilege. Identify what that is. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be hard. Think about it. You know, I don't know everything, and I am not. You know what I'm saying? I am not the authority on anything. I've been told I am problematic multiple times. I don't. You know, life is life. You know what I'm saying? Things gonna happen. Whatever. You know. I also think some people is just a little too sensitive, and the world is a hard place to be in, and you're gonna have to laugh about something. You know what I'm saying? But in an honest reality, I do think that everybody sits in a place of privilege. So the first step is to identify what that privilege is, who you step on, and start to give a little bit of it up every day, and try to help figure out how you can make the world a more equitable place. The best thing that I got is I make art. And again, whatever you do, I think you should try. I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but if I was you, I would try to use whatever talents I got to try to make the world a more equitable place. And that's bigger than, and until then, you're gonna have a Ferguson every few weeks. It's only gonna escalate. And back to privilege. It's only so long before it comes to your doorstep. So you can think as though it's not gonna come see you, but it will. It will come see you. I really plead for people to be on the right side of history. Everybody talks about the right side of history. My parents are 74 years old. My father integrated his junior high school in East St. Louis. He was a Black Panther in the 60s. My mama was a sharecropper from Louisiana. She came to St. Louis. She didn't even speak much English. These are people that drank at colored water fountains. You know, these people that got in fights and evaded death because of the color of their skin. So I had examples in the house I grew up in from people that stood up for it. And what they tell me is everybody wasn't on that shit the way they talk about it. The way how it's cool to be down with Dr. King now. They wasn't doing that back then. And the same thing right now. I know it's me and a handful of other people that go around and talk about this. Put our physical bodies in danger. Put our family and our loved ones in danger, you know, because we believe in it. So I just want you to know that we could use a little help. You know what I'm saying? And if you really about it, then get out there and be about it. Now, you don't got to do what I do, but you could do small things every day to make this world a better place and make it an equitable place for other people to live in. So that's what I do. And I'm down for questions. I'm an open book. Whatever anybody want to ask me.
So everyone, for questions, if you could please come to this podium and I will hand you the mic for the questions. So I will start off with a question. Damon, I would love for you to tell the stories of all the individuals who are part of your All Hands on Deck images, because I think it's important to know their stories. So could you please tell us those?
Okay, right on. So I told y'all about Lucas. Lucas is Tori Russell's son. He's just a kid that grew up he was in the environment. And his father's an activist. And so he was being exposed to this world very early. And he is being groomed, I guess you would say, to take the baton. So one other person, is Reverend Sekou. Reverend Sekou is a pastor. I think he's a Pentecostal pastor. He put his body on the line. And he's also not your run-of-the-mill pastor. He's not the guy that tells you how bad you're doing at things. He's much more on the ground. He's much more like, I'm telling you it's wrong because I did it, you know, and I know it's not that good. He's a flawed human being, and he shows it to people. That's why I respect him. There is also Tef Poe. Tef Poe is a rapper. I've known Tef for about 10 years. We both was rapping in St. Louis at the same time. And Tef is now teaching at Harvard and writing a book. But Tef was active out there, and he became, I guess he was identified as a leader. And he's been a vocal person for the people of Ferguson and what has now become the Black Lives Matter movement. Rini Costello is another set of hands. She's a white, queer woman. Her family runs a coffee house called Mochabees. Mochabees was a safe house for people. It was a safe space that when protests started in South St. Louis, a lot of people think that Ferguson is an island or some shit, but no, it's a municipality that is a suburb of St. Louis. So when you see that clip that I showed you, what could play. South St. Louis is the side of St. Louis that I live on currently. The Costellos run a coffee house there, and when a kid named Bondaric Myers was shot right before Ferguson, October, the protests erupted there. So that's a block away from my house. So there were armored vehicles and police and riot gear with machine guns in the middle of St. Louis City, a block away from my house. That's where Mocha sat, and they shot tear gas in there. They told people to get off the street and shot the tear gas inside of the coffee house. They had to shut the coffee house down for a couple of days to bomb it and get all the gas out of it. But yeah, that family put their business and their lives on the line. Tara T is another person. She's a good friend of mine. She's very matriarchal. She is a part of a group called Hands Up United that came out of that was birthed out of what happened in Ferguson, and they do a program called Books and Breakfast twice a month, and it's modeled after the free food program that the Black Panthers started in Oakland. So they give kids books, they give kids breakfast, and each month is a theme that they teach people something. Yeah, so Tara is just an active person that is very active in the community and specifically in the Black community. Who else we got? So a white man's hands that you see. His name is Anon, Cop Watch. He was a cop watcher, and he was a live streamer. And so the live streamers played a very important role, as most of you know. That's the reason why most of the people that were not there knew about what was going on in Ferguson. So I took pictures of his hands, and I think that is everybody that I can remember. How many did I say? Six. So Abby's a Latino woman who came in. She's the only outsider that I had pictures of. I didn't even think about that. But she came in from Oakland, and she helped organize a tech program for kids to teach them how to use coding. And she was active with Hands Up United in the early days during the formation of that.
Don't you have the images in your PowerPoint?
I think I do, but I don't think I have all of them. That's Tara. She bejeweled. She wear a lot of jewelry. You know what I'm saying? That is Abby's hands. That is Tef Poe. That is Anon Cop Watch, the live streamer. And that is Reverend Sekou. And so, yeah, that is all hands on deck. That was I put those up on West Florissant right before the non-indictment to try to boost morale, because they had boarded up all the buildings. It was cold and the numbers were dwindling. People weren't out there like that, and we needed something to boost the morale. So I got with some people. We put those up, and it was. I think it helped. A lot of businesses were on my side. They let me put it up on their buildings. Kids from Canfield and from Ferguson. Canfield is where the housing complex that Mike Brown was shot in came, helped me put the things up. Just walked up randomly, started helping me. Old women was telling me thank you. They really like it. So it did what it was supposed to do. And back to what I'm saying, I'd rather focus on fortifying the people that need it than pleading for humanity. Yeah.
So we'll take some questions, and I also want to give a shout out to our remote audience. You can also participate, so please let our moderator know, and we will put you on.
Did you do any art with this sort of message before Ferguson, before the Black Lives Matter movement started to kind of rise up out of the shadows?
Yeah, actually I did. Eileen mentioned a project called The Wailing Wall. That predates Mike Brown. That's before Mike Brown died. That's before everything erupted. And that was because the BBC came and did a documentary about St. Louis being the most divided, the most segregated city in America. And like the Delmar Divide, which is the Delmar Boulevard, that street divides it by class, race, education, everything. And I mean, like, you could literally stand on that street and you could see mansions on one side and you could see desolation on the other. It's almost cartoon-like. So the Pulitzer Foundation for the Arts put out a call for people with creative ideas. I guess everybody got embarrassed, like, the Brits made a documentary, we can't look bad. And they put out a call and they asked for creative ideas to address the problem. And I submitted that idea, and they liked it. So I built that at Watson and Delmar. It's right across the street from an organization called 100 Black Men, and it's still standing today. So it's deteriorating, but that's kind of the point. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
With the proliferation of disinformation, how would you explain to a person who simply doesn't want to know the difference between a protest and a riot?
Okay, the people that don't want to know, I don't give a fuck what they, like, I don't care.
You have to teach them.
Okay.
You have to teach them.
Okay. Okay, so the word riot really, it annoys me, and it annoys a lot of people around me in this situation. So if the Cubs won the World Series, was that a riot? That shit that like lighting cars on fire and jumping up and down, and yeah. So drunk white boys, they blowing off steam, right? So they not rioting. A kid gets killed, and let's be honest. Like St. Louis is they wild. Like I wasn't there for that, but I say this: St. Louis the only place you see somebody light a gas station on fire. Like that is outrageous. You know what I mean? So, but that's a riot. So my thing is, if I don't see it as a riot, I see it as a nonviolent strategic act. And I get that from my friend Kayla Reed. She's an eloquent and brilliant. A brilliant organizer, also radicalized during first. And the reason I say it's nonviolent is because buildings are not people. Violence is constituted as harm to human beings, in my eyes. You see what I'm saying? So if no human body was harmed in that, then I do not see that as violence. People equate violence to riot. You see what I'm saying? So like that's the trajectory. It's violence, so it's a riot. If it's not that, then it's an uprising or something like that. So I prefer to look at it as a nonviolent strategic act. Buildings can be rebuilt. People cannot be resuscitated and brought back to life.
Okay, hello. My question is, knowing that we, and as specifically as a Black person, knowing that we live in an environment of social inequity and institutional racism, what advice do you have for those who are honing their craft to make this world a more equitable place, knowing that we have to work within the system inevitably for like the rest of our lives? So,
Yeah, I totally understand that. And quite frankly, that's what I got to do every day. That's why I'm standing here at an institution. What I think is just you gotta, hope is a real thing and it's a tangible thing. And I think that you gotta have hope. You also have to take care of yourself. And you have to take time to get out of the mix of trying to fight sometimes. You gotta take vacations from people and things, you know? I think with social media, we can go down a rabbit hole and you will see yourself or people that look like you're being brutalized over and over again. And you'll see, and a lot of people think that they're helping by spreading that shit. And I'm to the point where I don't think that really helps anymore. I think that helps to desensitize us from Black people being harmed in real time and in real life. And I think that there are times where you should just back away and take care of yourself. Resilience is a big thing, and I think about it a lot too. I don't know how people do this and go around like this for 30 years, like Angela Davis. I don't know. I cannot fathom how much strength it takes to do that. But all I can think is that you take time out and you take time for yourself and you adapt. But I truly believe that I think we're strong enough to do it, and I don't think that, and I'm not saying that as by we strong enough to do it, and it's okay to take a bunch of shit off of people, and it's okay. And you know, like we get into this, black people are so strong, and we take pride in the fact of how much pain we can take, and I don't think that that's a wise decision. And I think that it takes some diligence, and I think that it takes common sense. Sometimes you pick your battles and take a break from it and get back in the game. But there is no way, there is no outside of this system. And from what I've seen, even going to other countries, like they might not be as blatant, and the cops don't walk around with guns, but them white folks won't look me in my eye, and they won't, you know, it's the supremacy of whiteness being the upper echelon is a global thing. It's a global thing. It's not, and they like to, like, even when you go to other places, they're like, well, we not America. You're not. It's not now. Like it's still in London, years before Mike Brown, a man named Mark Duggan was killed. They burnt that shit down, and so the people would talk, like, just to start the conversation. And we talk about conversation. Conversation is an excuse to not do anything. But like it's a global thing, and I think like the only thing that we really can do is we take care of each other collectively and individually, and that's the best thing I can think of. Right
on. So how has this is kind of like a two-question. How has All Lives Matter affected Black Lives Matter, and how have you personally handled working with All Lives Matter?
All Lives Matter thing.
I'm gonna go sit down. So
I hear you. Right on. Appreciate it. I just really would love people to use common sense sometimes, and not you in particular. I mean, like that All Lives Matter. That whole thing is like, this is so crazy. Like, this is so crazy to me, and only as I get older do I start to connect certain dots. Like the idea, like the word nigga, and black people saying it, and white people not understanding why they cannot say it, and why it just can't be a no. Like in your life, if you do something, people be like no, and you understand what no means. There is, in the white world that I have encountered, no is not a real word. Like there's no way you're gonna tell me no, and it creates a cognitive dissonance. And that's the same way with All Lives Matter. That's along the same lines. Why are you so offended by certain people speaking up for themselves? That's because there is an internal guilt. You know what I mean? Because if I say this, then you like, I think people feel culpable in something. You know what I mean? And they should feel that way. You know what I mean? There is no reason why black people should have to say that, and there's no reason for that. And what I have learned to do is to just when people start saying that, I literally walk away. Again, I pick my battles. I don't have time to talk to nobody that's stupid. That feels, you know what I mean? That, like, honestly, I don't. That is not a legitimate argument that all lives matter. Of course they do. Or do they? Would I have to say Black Lives Matter if all lives matter? Would people even be talking like that? You know what I mean? Like, and that's never the first thing. And the people that say that, that's never the first thing in their mind. You know what I mean? Like there is a deep internal gauge or a switch that gets hit when anyone goes against the status quo, especially if you sit on the cushy side of it. If you're not getting the short end of the stick. So like that, those arguments, I don't really entertain those things. And I mean, there are people, and again, when I say that I don't do that, that is only from trial and error. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking anybody that feels that their job is to go out and educate the people that don't know. But that ain't my ministry, and I'm done with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm done. Like, there's a reason why all of y'all are sitting here listening to me, and there's a reason why it's a whole campus of people that ain't in here. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm here to talk. I'm literally preaching to the choir. And I'm okay with it, because the choir show up to church every Sunday. The choir are the people that need the hope. You know what I'm saying? So like, That's who I'm worried about, and that's who I'm talking to, and I'm not that is just ridiculous to me, and it's also, and I also think it's a tool being used by people in power to divide people as well. You know what I mean? I think that is something that when Fox News pushing that out and pushing that in your head, that is so you walk out and start altercations with people and talk that. You know what I mean? But if all lives matter, it would show and prove if that was really what was going on, and if that was really the agenda in the world, especially in America itself, there would be no need to talk about it. And then you get like this, you just pull black out and you start dropping everything else, and this matters, and that's a testament to how easily black culture gets co-opted. Easily. As soon as we make something up, they figure out a way to sell it back to you on T-shirts. Even if it's your own pain and your own death, they figure out a way to sell it back to you. That's capitalism. That's America. And that's what and that's another thing about like black people were brought here as commodities. You feel what I'm saying? And I don't think that has ever changed. I think it has only morphed and it has only evolved. You know what I mean? And it changes name, but the same thing continues and over and over again. The same way blues, jazz, rock and roll, hip hop. One day, like I'm from St. Louis. Chuck Berry just died. Like they call him a pioneer in rock and roll, but in actuality, he's the dude that started rock and roll. He's the first person on record with rock and roll, using the term rock and roll in records and stuff like that. But that's gone. But the Beatles is the greatest, right? And Elvis Presley and all of that. And that happens generation after generation. Like the same way they watered down Martin Luther King. Now Muhammad Ali is an American hero. When you can't find a speech of Muhammad Ali not saying how black he is, you can't find it. But for some reason, in the memory, in the zeitgeist, that's not who he is. He's an American hero. He was standing up for America. You feel what I'm saying? But America was stepping on him, and that's why he didn't go to that war. But again, like I feel very lucky that I have people that live through that can tell me the true story, and I don't know if everybody got that. So I feel like I should be saying that out loud. We got somebody on the internet?
No, it was just a reword.
Right on. Any other questions?
Are there any other questions? Well, while people are mulling it over, David, I want to share with you a story about this question of why should we say Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I will confess that in the beginning, I had to think about it too.
Okay.
Right? And I'm from the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't grow up here. So I had to learn what that history was.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched Henry Louis Gates Jr.'s documentary series that was on PBS,
Yeah.
and it was something like race in post-1965 America or something like that. And when I watched that, then I understood, because he explained that we have to say that Black Lives Matter, because if you look at the history, at some point in time, Black lives did not matter at all. And that's why we say Black Lives Matter. It's not we're saying that only Black Lives Matter, but we have to make that emphasis because of what happened in history. And that's when I understood. And I will say that I had a conversation with somebody whom I really liked. Then I found out that, we started talking about Black Lives Matter, and she asked the same question I'd asked myself. Why Black Lives Matter?
Mm-hmm.
And she was kind of opposed to that. She told me, I don't understand, and so I started talking to her about it, and I told her my experience in Henry Louis Gates Jr.'s documentary, and then she was like, oh, now I understand.
I'm glad you're doing that.
And she's like, okay, I'm gonna go look at Henry Louis Gates Jr.'s documentary.
I appreciate you for that. Like I said though, I'm not the one for them conversations
I know.
anymore.
I know.
I appreciate that. I truly do. And
But you know what? We can do our part, right?
yeah.
Damon is tired, but we can.
Pick up the baton. You know what I'm saying? Like to grab the ball, the fumble. Take it up the field. But I'm cool right now. So I'm just gonna talk to the people, the other people.
Okay, Linda has a question.
Well, not exactly a question, but I was hoping, Damon, you might tell the audience that Whose Streets is running as a preview in front of screenings of I Am Not
Yeah, I Am Not Your Negro and
the
Moonlight.
wonderful
Yeah.
new film based on James Baldwin's life, work, and writing, and really a very, very important
Yeah.
film.
Yes, so that is true. So right now, also Magnolia is our distribution, and they are also distributing I Am Not Your Negro. So our film, our trailer is playing before I Am Not Your Negro in Moonlight in Landmark Theaters right now. It will be released in August around the anniversary of Mike Brown Jr.'s death. And I just want to apologize. You know, I cuss a lot. You know. And I'm working on that. So I just want, especially for the older people, respect to y'all. I'm sorry, but you know, sometimes I get out of pocket on that. But much respect to y'all. Any other questions? Anybody?
I heard you say you had law enforcement in your family, and I was wondering if you had conversations with Black police officers or people in Black law enforcement in relation to all hands on deck, or what, given the complexity of that situation,
Yeah.
if you could speak to that.
So I can speak specifically to the people in my family. I know that the people in my family, along with everybody in my family, and most Black people from low income surroundings do things for jobs, right? And that specifically is why I know that the people in my family join law enforcement. And a lot of times, we as Black people have to make very, very ugly choices to survive in this country. That does not excuse or negate the fact that I do not like police, and I do not, and I do not, or at least police as an institution. Like, I'm not talking, but I'm talking about, like, what is it, All Lives Matter? So that Blue Lives Matter shit, and the fact that, and the idea that people didn't choose to put on a uniform when they woke up, and I woke up in my uniform, and the police, that is a public office. That is not a demographic of people, you know? And that, again, is something I feel that is being used by the powers that be, like as a propaganda tool, because that doesn't make any sense. And how, like, I done heard people say it's an all-out war on police. How many police you done heard of getting shot at? An all-out war? That's the sort of thing that I have run into. Those conversations with police, they could go either way. They can go either way. I've only had a few of them because, quite honestly, they deteriorate quite quickly because they start spewing out those same talking points as everybody else. And like the film, when it is released and when you get to see it, you won't see any police. You won't see us talking to any police. And that is not because we didn't interview police. We interviewed the chief of police for the county that was in charge while things were going on. We interviewed the mayor of Ferguson, right? But they didn't talk to us as human beings. They gave us those same talking points that some PR person slid to them right before we walked in there. And quite frankly, we already know what they think. We already got their side of the story from CNN and Fox News and every other outlet in between. So our story was about telling the story of everyday Black people and showing how glorious and majestic and strong they are. So, like the police conversation is, I'm open to talk to anybody with sense, but it usually deteriorates pretty quickly. One, because back to that culpability thing, and like you're directly culpable in it because you are the arms of the state. You enforce the laws, so it's kind of hard for us to have a rational conversation. It's easier with Black cops, but it's pretty hard to have that conversation.
Hi, thanks for your presentation, quite a bit. I have a question regarding, or in context, you're running with the art museum.
Mm-hmm.
And in today's date, we consistently observe public funds cut back for wonder, do you see a danger in these museums becoming more and more privately funded, that they would become less and less answerable or even able to engage in dialogue in an instance like the one that you described?
Okay. So by saying privately funded, and specifically emphasizing on the fact that they would be privately funded, does that mean that because they're not government ran, they would not listen to, I guess, minority people?
Yeah,
Or things of that nature?
they didn't taxpayer asset
Yeah.
in the museum. Do you think that it makes them immune, or it might make them immune?
I think if that's the case, they're already privately funded, because they don't, that shit isn't there to service the greater population. You feel what I'm saying? Art is a very classist thing. That's why a lot of people, like a lot of young kids and stuff, think that like it ain't for me and I don't get it. It's probably because it's not nothing to get. And a lot of stuff is to separate people and to say that I get it and I'm smarter and I'm richer and I can afford it. You feel what I'm saying? So at the same time, that is the great dilemma that I find myself in day and day out. As trying to be a surviving artist and still having to go in these rooms with people that I have no want or need to be in a room with, and that I have no actual, there's very little things that we have in common on a lived experience basis. So I feel that they are already, to that degree, privately funded. Who owns the Guggenheim? What's that? That's private, right? It's a rich dude who took his money and made a museum, right? Yeah, like that's not a new thing. That's not a new thing. And like the Whitney is the American art. That's American art. That's the American art thing. Yeah, and the moment, like it's still pretty much ran by a bunch of rich people handing them money year after year. So it's already privately owned. Just like the Congress is privately owned because lobbyists come in and give them money. Just like like the government is privately owned. So and it's only becoming that the current president he's so bold. He's not like we finna privatize it. We finna get rid of this. We finna get rid of that. But like I feel like things have been privately owned for quite some time, and it may be a little bit more difficult to get the word out. But I believe in the power of a lot of people at once. If a lot of people make noise, I think it scares institutions, and I think it scares people because even if it is privately owned, if the mass of people that have been supporting certain things take their dollars out of it, then they won't be owning it for too long. So they still have to be, to a degree, on that, like I guess economically they're accountable to the people, the patrons of the place. So yeah, but I feel like I don't know how much is going to change in a negative way. What I am afraid of, I'm cutting a lot of the arts money is like kids in like most of that art money go to kids in poverty-stricken areas. That goes to like music programs, art programs for like inner city youth and people like that. And by cutting that and like cutting PBS and like stuff that kids that don't have a lot of options, they gonna lose. It still ain't gonna be the people at the top. It's gonna be the people at the very bottom that's gonna lose. So that worries me more than the moment I put my picture up or taking down something when somebody, asks for it to come down.
Okay, we have a question in the back.
Thanks for the information,
Yeah.
and the work that you do. This is an issue that I never know what to do about, and being a white person, I've had several conversation fights in the last few years with people who made kind of, I guess you could call it subversive, racist comments.
Mm-hmm.
And I was offended, and I'm not black, but I was still offended because the whole system of prejudice and racism is awful. I wonder how you suggest I deal with that in the future. I don't think that I can make those people stop thinking that way, but maybe I can show them a different perspective.
Okay. So usually when I get this question, you would answer them a different way. So you kind of throw me off. But usually when white people ask me what they can do, I tell them to stop asking black people what they can do and figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Because like it's like I gotta build a car, wash the car, I gotta teach you how to drive it. It's just like you know, do something, you do something. But because of the way you asked me that, I think that when we talk to subversive, because that's the ugly, that's the like jokes and that sort of thing, the thing that people think is harmless. And I catch a whole lot of liberal white folks thinking that they ain't racist, and they be in, you know, they say certain things. So what I would do, and the way that only a white woman can do, like quite honestly, is like you could get loud with them. You could cuss them. I would me personally, if I had that, I would really, you know, I would take it there. I would go there because I mean, what they gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like I would go there. I would be outraged. You know what I'm saying? Like outraged, and I would be like, I would get in their face. That would be my first inclination to do that. But other than that, again, I don't know. I just know what I can do, and a lot of my response is based on sheer survival and what's gonna get me killed and what's gonna get me locked up. So, but again, you sit in a place of privilege. So the best thing I can say is just you use your privilege for good and not evil. Figure it out. And I don't know specifics, but that's the best I can give you.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Any other questions? Well, I have a follow-up question. You were talking about institutions and how a lot of times institutions perpetuate, you know, the systems of power and keep them in place. So I also realize that, and you know, but I work for an institution. A lot of us do, and especially an art institution.
Yeah.
What do you think? How can an art institution be part of the people, you know, who make noise and try to fight this institutionalized, you know, system of power? How, as an institute, you know, how can an art museum do that? Do you have any suggestions or ideas about that, or do you think like it's just hopeless?
No, I don't think it's hopeless. I think that I think you did by bringing me here, and I think that people like me that get to talk like me do not get into these rooms, and do not get the prestigious residencies, and do not get to be. If you make waves and you make people uncomfortable, namely the people with the privilege and the power, you do not get to come into the room. And I think by my sheer presence and that of people like me pushes the boundaries of things like that. And I commend people that show that amount of bravery, because like that thing that I did when I talked to that dude at the Whitney, not at the Whitney, when I talked to that dude at the Contemporary Art Museum and I called for a boycott, I knew that could destroy my career indefinitely. One move. Like nobody, like no rich people will ever buy anything from me. Nobody, and private donors, and private collectors, like people play their role, and if you, and in the same way that there are people that are out in the forefront that have been trailblazers. And all throughout history, you can find people that are behind them, that are facilitating like them to come and talk and spread that message that they have, that are purchasing the work that they make so that they can keep doing it and making it and stuff like that. So I think that everybody plays a role, but that's one thing, is to support artists and their free speech, and to support artists and artists that push boundaries and speak their mind. You know what I mean? Because back to privatization and institutions that privatize things. Those institutions, the more privatized they get, their messaging will come out. And only people that agree with their messaging will be in there talking. You know what I mean? So somebody has to counteract that and counterbalance that to keep the world in balance. You know? And I think that's what institutions can do. They can support forward-thinking artists. And they can support forward-thinking intellectuals and theorists. And just the real, like, it's good to have some fucking real common people in the mix too, and not always just a bunch of art talk and a bunch of words like strung together that don't mean anything and they have no feeling and no soul in them. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to hear from the people at the bottom. You know what I mean? Because that keeps things in perspective. So that's what I think. Support people like me and people that talk and bring a different perspective to the situation. Because that's the like if we don't get no support from nobody, then we won't be making these things. You know?
Thank you, Damon.
Yes.
Now we're not so desperate.
Okay, right on.
Are there any other questions? Well, if not, then let's please thank Damon again and there will be a reception immediately following this at the Beach Museum of Art. Please come if you have some time, and you can see Damon's work out in our gallery. So please come, have some food and drinks, and you can talk to Damon more.
Thank you all.